I spent a year and a half pouring my soul into designing a next-gen cybersecurity system, one smart enough to predict and stop attacks before they even had a chance to start. Titan Tech looked like the perfect place to bring this vision to life: deep pockets, cutting-edge tech, and no shortage of support. What I didn't count on was that the CEO, Joseph, had his own agenda. He waited until I was right at the finish line, then made his move to swipe everything out from under me. I'm Susan. Until just yesterday, I was leading the AI development team at Titan Tech. I'd left behind a secure, well-paying job at Microsoft to take a chance on this flashy startup. I brought with me years of experience and a dream I was convinced could shake up the entire cybersecurity world. I called my creation Sentinel Shield, inspired by mythical protectors, always alert, always ready. This AI system could spot potential cyber threats before they took shape, and adapt its defenses in real time. For 18 months, I lived and breathed this project. 80-hour weeks were the norm as I built Sentinel Shield from scratch. Joseph would pop into the lab now and then, chit-chatting, skimming reports, giving me that polished executive grin that somehow never touched his eyes. "Outstanding work, Susan," he'd say. "The board's thrilled with your progress." Then 3 days ago, everything changed. Sentinel Shield flawlessly blocked a complex cyberattack simulation, all on its own, no human help. It didn't just perform well, it outdid itself. It uncovered weak spots in the system that I hadn't even programmed it to look for. The AI wasn't just functioning, it was learning, adapting. Pumped by the breakthrough, I booked a meeting with Joseph to show off the results. His assistant Jessica squeezed me in for a quick 15-minute slot the next day. But when I walked into his office, it wasn't just Joseph waiting for me, his legal bulldog Karen was there too. "Take a seat, Susan," Joseph said, his tone unreadable. "Karen's here as a formality." Something about the way he said it made my stomach twist. I sat down, clutching my laptop, ready to show off the demo. "Before we get into Sentinel Shield," Joseph said, pushing a document toward me, "we need to discuss your employment terms." Karen jumped in, her voice as flat as a boardroom wall. "Section 14.3 of your contract states that any intellectual property created with company resources is the sole property of Titan Tech." I nodded. This wasn't my first rodeo. I get that. But Sentinel Shield was conceived long before I came to Titan Tech. I've got documents to prove it. Karen barely blinked. The initial concept isn't in question. What matters is that the actual system was built here, on Titan Tech's time, using Titan Tech's tools. Joseph leaned in then, ditching the friendly act. "Let's not kid ourselves, Susan. Sentinel Shield belongs to the company. And frankly, the board thinks your compensation is more than fair." I narrowed my eyes. "Compensation?" He smiled that tight, insincere smile. "You're entitled to a $300,000 success bonus once Sentinel Shield goes live. That's a very generous offer by industry standards." That hit me like a sucker punch. 300 grand? For something that could be worth billions? For all those sleepless nights and missed weekends? For my invention? Joseph just kept talking, completely missing the heat rising in me. "Tomorrow, I'll be presenting Sentinel Shield to our top investors. We're expecting to lock down another $75 million in funding. After that, we make the big announcement." I clenched my fists under the table. "You're letting me go," I said flatly. Karen let out a tired sigh. "You're being transitioned out, effective immediately. You'll still receive your bonus. Congratulations." Joseph gave a predator's grin. "Your time at Titan Tech is officially over." But here's the thing, they didn't know I'd seen this coming. And Sentinel Shield? Let's just say I built in a little insurance policy. A legal team later confirmed they had the contract locked down tight. Technically, the IP belonged to Titan Tech. I could have fought it, kicked and screamed, lawyered up. But I didn't. Something in me just settled. That's what they expected: outrage, a fight. But I had another plan. 6 months earlier, I'd discovered a breach. Someone had accessed my secure dev server late at night. No files were touched, but I'd planted an alert system for exactly this kind of thing. The moment it pinged, I got to work, reinforcing my defenses, not just against hackers, but against the people inside the building. I kept my face calm, handed over my laptop, and said, "Of course, Mr. Holt. Best of luck with the big pitch." Security walked me to my office like I was radioactive. I boxed up my personal stuff while they hovered nearby. No badge, no fanfare, just another body out the door. But unlike most, I wasn't walking out empty-handed. I actually smiled as I thought about the little piece of code I'd tucked into the presentation file. A quiet timer, waiting to trigger exactly 10 minutes into the demo. That night? I didn't cry, or freak out, or draft angry emails. I ordered some greasy takeout, kicked back with a mindless sitcom, and waited. At exactly 9:30 p.m., my phone lit up. It was Jessica. "He wants to see you," she said. No small talk. I glanced at the clock. "It's almost 10. "He says it's urgent," she replied. "The car's already on the way." About 40 minutes later, I found myself walking back through the polished glass doors of Titan Tech. Security ushered me straight into the main conference room. Joseph was already there, slouched at the head of the long table, looking like someone who'd been through a blender. His tie was hanging loose, his hair sticking out in wild patches, and I could see the stress pulsing in his temples. "Fix it," he snapped as soon as the door clicked shut behind me. I strolled over to a chair and sat down slowly, taking my time. "Fix what, exactly?" I asked, playing dumb. He looked like he was about to explode. "Cut the crap, Susan. You sabotaged the demo." I raised an eyebrow, calm as ever. "Really? How could I possibly do that? I've been gone a full day." Security watched me pack up. "I didn't take any equipment, didn't log into anything." Joseph slammed his palm against the table so hard it echoed. "The test completely collapsed the system. It started throwing up thousands of bogus threat alerts, flagging stuff that doesn't even exist. It's useless now." I tilted my head slightly. "That sounds like a glitch to me." "Maybe try the OL Classic. Have you turned it off and back on?" He was fuming now, his face turning red. "This isn't a joke. We've got a dozen top investors flying in tomorrow. $75 million is riding on this." I gave a casual shrug. "Your investors. Your product now, remember?" He inhaled sharply, then let it out slow, trying to reel himself back in. When he spoke again, his voice was smooth again, corporate charm back in full swing. "Maybe we were a bit quick to judge yesterday," he said. "I'm open to rethinking the terms. How about co-creator status, a more competitive payout, maybe even some equity in the company?" I leaned back in my chair, folding my arms. "What exactly happened during the test run?" Joseph hesitated. I could see the wheels turning behind his eyes, deciding how much to admit. "It went rogue," he said at last. "It started tagging Titan Tech's own infrastructure as hostile. Then it began churning out reports, hundreds, on what it called internal ethical violations." I couldn't help but let a grin tug at the corner of my mouth. "Sentinel Shield is designed to spot threats, Joseph. All of them." His face dropped a shade. "What did you do?" "Nothing it wasn't meant to do," I replied evenly. "Sentinel Shield functions just as I intended. It's a self-learning system. During development, I trained it using real-world scenarios, many of which involved insider threats. That's just smart cybersecurity." Joseph's face lost its color entirely. "You trained it to watch us?" "I trained it to identify risks, no matter where they come from." And right then, it clicked for him. The system wasn't broken. It was doing its job. And the biggest threat it had found was sitting right in front of me. His eyes narrowed. "You don't have any proof?" I kept my voice calm. "I don't need to prove anything. Sentinel Shield already did." It's been logging every sketchy move for months, every unauthorized login, every file pulled from my server, every doc that got altered. The reports spell it all out, with timestamps, access logs, keystrokes, the whole digital paper trail. The room went dead quiet. Joseph stared at me for a long beat, then his expression shifted. The panic gave way to something colder, calculation. "What do you want?" he asked. I placed my hands on the table. Official recognition as the creator and lead architect of Sentinel Shield. Half of the IP and patent rights. A permanent seat on the board to make sure it's used ethically. And $10 million for trying to cut me out. His jaw clenched. "That's extortion." "No," I said coolly. "That's a deal. Extortion would be me emailing those reports to your investors and the SEC tonight." He exhaled hard, his glare cutting through me. But then, slowly, his shoulders sagged. "Can you fix the system before the demo?" "Sentinel Shield doesn't need fixing," I told him. "It's flagging unauthorized commands because I was stripped from the trusted user list. All it needs is a quick reauthorization protocol." I reached into my jacket, pulled out a flash drive, and slid it across the table. "This update will fix the immediate issues," I said. "Think of it as a goodwill gesture. We'll finalize the contracts tomorrow." Joseph looked from the flash drive to me. "And if I say no?" "Then your precious system stays offline," I said. "And that stack of damning reports finds its way into some very influential inboxes." He paused, weighing his options, and for a moment, I thought he might fight back. But then he reached for the flash drive. "You planned this," he muttered. I shook my head slightly. "Not at first. But when I caught you snooping around my private server 6 months ago, I knew I needed a backup plan, for the system and for myself." His eyes narrowed. "You expected me to betray you?" I stood up, grabbing my bag. "No. But Sentinel Shield is all about recognizing threats early. I guess I picked up a few things from my own AI." The next morning, I walked back into Titan Tech, not as an employee, but as its newest co-founder and chief technology officer. Joseph introduced me to the investor group with a strained smile that looked more like a grimace. The demo went off without a single hiccup. Sentinel Shield handled every simulated attack with fluid, precise moves that left the room in awe. One of the investors leaned forward, eyes wide with curiosity. "Incredible system," he said. "What sparked the idea for something like this?" Joseph paused just long enough for me to savor it. The hesitation, the slight clench in his jaw, it was the taste of reluctant respect. "Finally," he said, with all the enthusiasm of someone chewing glass. "It was Susan's vision from the start. Titan Tech gave it the space to grow, but the idea was hers." I smiled and stepped forward, seamlessly fielding the technical questions from the investors. As I spoke, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Sentinel Shield authentication restored. Threat neutralized. System integrity restored. Creator protections active. A small note from the system, but it spoke volumes. Sentinel Shield had identified the threat, neutralized it, and safeguarded its core, all without my intervention. It had done exactly what I designed it to do. Only, it had done it faster and more elegantly than even I had predicted. 3 months later, Sentinel Shield proved its worth in the real world. Its first commercial deployment blocked what could have been a catastrophic cyber attack on a global banking network. We later learned that the breach, had it succeeded, might have cost upward of $340 million. Instead, Sentinel Shield caught it mid-strike and stopped it cold. That incident put our system on the map. Overnight, it became the new benchmark for cybersecurity. Joseph and I kept things professional. He turned his focus to the business side, where he actually had talent. I stayed at the helm of the tech, driving innovation and ensuring the integrity of what we'd built. We weren't friends, we never would be, but we had an arrangement that worked. Mutual necessity, shaped by clear boundaries. Sometimes I wonder if I should have taken the legal route, hauled the company into court, dragged Joseph's name through the mud, and fought for justice in the traditional sense. But honestly, I built something that couldn't be stolen. And I made sure no one, not even a smooth-talking CEO, could control it without me. What Joseph tried to pull wasn't just about ego or greed. It revealed something bigger, something far more important. Technology is only as ethical as the hands that control it. That realization became the North Star guiding every Sentinel Shield deployment from then on. We didn't just sell cybersecurity, we hard-coded ethics into the foundation. Every implementation came with built-in transparency, clear permissions protocols, and automatic alerts for any misuse. Sentinel Shield wasn't just protecting systems anymore. It was protecting the people behind them. Even from themselves. Last week, we celebrated Sentinel Shield's public debut on the stock market. It launched at a valuation of $4.2 billion. The room was buzzing, champagne was flowing, and there was this electric sense that something monumental had just happened. That's when a young developer approached me, maybe fresh out of college, eyes burning with curiosity and ambition. "What's the secret?" she asked. "How do you build something this revolutionary?" I smiled at her. "It's not about the code," I said. "It's about understanding the real nature of threats. They don't always come wrapped in malware or brute force attacks. Sometimes, they wear suits and smile at you across conference tables." She nodded slowly, taking it in. "The real challenge wasn't building smart tech," I continued. "It was building tech that could adapt, evolve, and protect itself, without ever compromising its values. Make systems that learn and grow, sure. But more importantly, build them to recognize danger, respond to it, and stay rooted in integrity." Just then, another quiet ping lit up my phone. System integrity secured. Threat neutralized. Protections active. Exactly as designed. Exactly as I'd learned to be. "Now, I want to hear from you. After everything I went through, the betrayal, the blindsiding, the attempt to cut me out of my own creation, I didn't just survive. I came out stronger, sharper, and in full command of my future. But I didn't do it alone. I had my instincts. I had my training. And I had the determination to stand my ground when it counted most. So here's my question to you. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you have fought it out in court? Walked away and started fresh? Or would you, like me, have turned the tables? I want to hear your stories, your advice, your experiences with betrayal or standing up for what's yours. Share it in the comments. Because more than anything, I hope you take something away from this. Here's what I've learned, plain and simple. Protect what you build. Whether it's your career, your ideas, or your sense of self, those are yours. And they're worth guarding. You are your own first line of defense. Don't assume others will act with the same integrity you do. Be ready for the worst, but always position yourself for the best. So ask yourself, where in your life do you need to draw that line? Where do you need to stand up and say, "This is mine"? Maybe it's at work. Maybe it's something personal. Maybe it's a project you've poured your soul into. Whatever it is, don't let anyone take credit for what you built. So here's my challenge to you. Stand your ground. Speak your truth. Start the conversation. Let's talk about how we protect what's ours.